Hello everyone. I'm specifically directing this video towards my Chinese viewers, or viewers from other Asian countries who believe, or anyone for that matter, but specifically Chinese viewers, who endorse this theory of biased Western media. I'd like to discuss this a little bit, and I do ask that you watch the whole video. I'm talking specifically about China because it's a claim I see very, very often with Chinese net users whenever there's something critical concerning especially Chinese politics or another very sensitive issue is human rights in China, which are a heavily scrutinized subject, is a heavily scrutinized subject I should say. Under a lot of those sort of videos I see claims like, oh, this is more CNN, BBC, lies, propaganda, anti-China material, etc. I'd like to counter that a little bit with some points. I've probably said this in other videos, but I do think it's an important issue because when we're talking about understanding between East and West, nothing should be left off the table in terms of understanding. And I would amicably ask my Chinese viewers to take these points on board. I'm not saying this video to insult it. I'm not making this video to insult anyone. I'm not making this to try and hurt anyone's feelings. I'm just trying to get through to you about some of the issues that are the reality here. This goes back, well, it goes back a long way, but a notable event was the 2008 Beijing Olympics. I've made several videos concerning nationalism around that. This isn't really about that so much as the claims of BBC bias. Now, when there was BBC coverage of the Beijing Olympic torch relay, a very tense event as it turned out, there were protests in London and Manchester protesting the BBC's so-called biased coverage on the unrest in Tibet. And there's a few things I'd like to say about that. This is a democratic country. They had a right to protest. As far as I know, the protests were peaceful. There was no violence involved. They were saying that the BBC was giving an unfair portrayal of China. But from a Western perspective, there is some hypocrisy in this. China is not a country that has a lot of press freedom. It is simply a fact that every major Chinese network is directly controlled or censored by the Communist Party. That's simply a fact. And if you're Chinese, you will know that's the truth. So it seems ironic then to have a demonstration in a country that does allow protest. China doesn't, not in the same way, and accuse the British Broadcasting Corporation of bias when you're coming from a country that has no media objectivity, or almost none, because it's entirely controlled by the Communist Party. Now, I'm not here to say the BBC is perfect. The BBC has a long list of controversies and a long list of issues. I'm not here to say everything about the BBC is good. There's been times I've taken issue with the BBC. And there may be times when it shows something of a bias. I agree, there probably is a bias at times. But I think what those protesters, Len, and a lot of the people who complain about it now, what you ignore is the fact that it's very difficult for Western reporters to report inside China, so you're putting them in an impossible position. You're accusing them of being biased, you're accusing them of slandering China, you're accusing them of not being open-minded, but you're ignoring the fact that they cannot do their job properly under the circumstances. I can show you videos, or I can link videos whereby BBC journalists have been harassed by guys in plain clothes, probably employed by the Communist Party, to stop them doing their job, stop them reporting. So how do you expect Western journalists to work in these circumstances? I think that's very unfair to accuse them of bias and yet not acknowledge the circumstances they face. My question to those people is, are you journalists? Do you have to do their job? Do you experience the sort of pressures and challenges that they face? It takes a lot of courage to go to another country, report in a tense situation. Not so much in China in terms of death, but there are parts of the world that these journalists go and they do face life and death situations. I'm not saying that's the case in China, but they do risk being roughed up, being beaten. So you need to consider the circumstances that they face, and maybe when you consider the circumstances they face, you wouldn't be so judgmental. You wouldn't be so quick to say, oh, they're biased. Maybe the BBC can improve and be slightly more balanced in its coverage of China, but this is the second point I want to make. I don't think it's true to say that all coverage of China is negative. And to prove my point, I'm going to include a link in this video that shows a BBC Learning Zone report on the Chinese New Year. That report is, I would say, largely positive. There's no political issues in it. There's no critique. There's no sort of no word about human rights. There's absolutely nothing that could possibly be perceived as slandering China. It's simply a report about how the Spring Festival is an important social occasion, how people like spending time with their family, etc. So I'm including that to prove that the BBC isn't, it's not a case that it's always negative towards China. I think what happens is you look at the negative reports and you choose to focus on them. You choose to think this is the whole picture. Now, let's look at the reverse situation. Let's look at how Chinese media treats the West. I can't speak for all Chinese media, but I've seen, for example, I think it was called China Daily News. Recently, when David Cameron made a visit to China, they came out with a very insulting thing about the UK, saying we are a small, insignificant European country, part of the old Europe. And the only thing we're good for is tourism and overseas study. Well, those are big things actually, so I don't know why they're saying that that's insignificant, but that's an example of Chinese bias against Western countries. So if you think Western media is biased, how can you say that and ignore the extreme bias of Chinese media? Don't you see there's some hypocrisy in that argument? And like I said, I'm not here to, I don't work for the BBC. I don't like everything they do. I'm just saying that I think it's unfair to accuse them of bias when you're not looking at the whole picture. If anything, you're not being objective. You're not looking at the circumstances they face, and you're not looking at the fact that it is very hard to report freely inside China without restraints on sensitive issues like corruption or human rights. Now, would it be perfect in other countries? No, probably not. Is reporting in America perfect? No. There's things you can't do in America, like film police officers, for example, without facing repercussions. So I'm not just focusing on China here, but the reason I am raising the issue is because a lot of Chinese people have a very defensive attitude about this, and they're very like, oh, it's biased Western media. All I'm asking you to do is look at the whole picture and look at why it's biased, if indeed it is biased. Maybe the fault doesn't lie in the BBC, but the fact that China is intolerant to press freedom. Have you considered that? So it's just some things to think about. Thank you for watching.